Hey, everybody, welcome back to Miles and Mentors. We have a treat in store for you today with Roy Craigen, the president of Transcom Fleet Services, with us today. We're going to tap into that lived and learned knowledge he's gained through his career in logistics and pass it along to you. So stick with us. We have a great episode lined up for you right after this on Miles and Mentors.
Welcome to Miles and Mentors, the podcast that humanizes trucking, getting real-life advice and insights from logistics professionals from all over the industry. We sit down with those seasoned mentors who have put in the miles with a mission to pass on the knowledge gained from years in the industry to you. Now buckle up and enjoy the show.
Hey, what's going on, Roy, sorry.
That's nothing, Alex. You know what? I've been called everything in my life, so don't worry about that.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today, man. I'm really looking forward to tapping into your experience through the industry and seeing what kind of gold nuggets we can pull out of your wisdom that you've gained over the years.
Be fine. I don't know if I gained any, but clear to share anything. So
if it's there, we're going to find it. We're going to find it. Well, let's start out with just some quick introductions. Who are you and what is your role in the industry today?
Alex, as I mentioned to you, I was born into trucking. And I've had every job in trucking except mechanic.
Okay.
And built and maintained and managed large international award-winning trucking companies for over 20 years before entering into the ownership and founder of Transcom Fleet Services Incorporated. Transcom, what we do is we go into fleets that need a bit of a hand or need a bit of a boost or in maybe one or two areas or in the whole scope of the operation. And that's what we're all about.
That's fantastic. Well, it makes me think, let's go all the way back to the beginning. You said you were born into trucking.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and what made that eventually your path? Like, why didn't you choose something else?
Well, the Canadian trucking industry has said for decades, everything in trucking is delivered to you except babies. Buy a truck. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I just about changed that because when my mom was going to have me, my dad phoned his friend to pick her up at my house with a truck, haul her to the hospital, and we got about to the doorstep of the hospital, and that's where I was born.
Wow.
You know, so I was just about born in a truck.
I was going to say, no joke, born into trucking, dead serious.
Yes. But, you know, those early years, you know, I had a great time from 6 years old to about 12 of getting the keys to all the trucks and driving them around the yard for hours.
Yeah.
Plowing them in the snowbanks in the winter, trying to get other trucks to get chains hooked to them to haul them out, or get them stuck in the spring and go do the same thing, go get more trucks with loads on, hook chains onto the one you did get stuck, and spend the weekend trying to yank it out of the mud.
Wow.
And for me, that was the foundation for the love of the industry.
Yeah.
Is just lumping around as a 6 and 8 year old in the yard with a 5-ton truck and really enjoying it led to, you know, at 16, 17, pulling A trains at night.
Yeah.
Because I had 10 years experience. I didn't have a license, but I had 10 years experience. And that brought to, you know, ownership of buying a truck, a Peterbilt at the end of grade 12 and hauling whiskey from the States or from Canada to the States. And with a sleeper team, had a blast doing that. Got out of that because the Americans wouldn't let me cross the border anymore because I was too young when they found out how old I was. And so then I went into dispatch, and I really didn't know anything about it, but I went in there and had a blast doing that too. Got promoted into operations supervisor, got promoted into my first management job out in BC, And that led to a 20-year of management jobs going into fleets and large ones that were in a mess, either safety wise or compliance wise,
Right.
and go in and change that. And that took me to every city in the United States, and that took me to every city in Canada, going and doing those jobs. And that that was the foundation also for Transcom years down the road.
That's fascinating. You
So
know, it makes me think we see a lot of people that, change careers and stuff and end up in logistics and trucking and so forth. And to have that perspective, I mean, you've been around this industry, you've been around those trucks since, such a small child throughout your formative years.
yes,
Do you feel like, I don't know how to word it. It's more ingrained in you than most because you were
yes,
so around it and ingrained in it through those formative years in life?
yes. And I've been a fan and a cheerleader of trucking my entire life, Alex.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. It's not easy, but it can be a heck of a lot of fun if you build a good team. You hire smart, you train well,
Yeah.
you discipline as you need to, reward handsomely when people do good work, and you can build a team that a stressful, uh, fast-paced business can also be a lot of fun.
That's fascinating, man. Again, it's bringing me back, to be able to step into a trucking company and see kind of how that operation is flowing. Uh,
Mhm.
Again, to be able to grow up around that and kind of see that, I feel like I don't even know the words for it, but I feel like you just have this sixth sense to a degree that you've seen it for so many years. It's second nature to you.
Yeah, like this week, like I said, we'll be into 5 fleets between now and Friday
Yeah,
Or Saturday, and we'll be in for to those fleets for everything from education to discipline to programs that they're missing and don't have, and we're gonna trial run them because we made them for them. There's a
right.
whole bunch of different reasons why we're there, and we have the absolute honor and privilege to work with some of the really, really good people who are trying their best every day to run a good company.
That's fantastic. So if you don't mind, let's dive in a little deeper with Transcom. Like what does that look like today and what does it look like to work with your company?
Transcom, the name uh, came from a park bench in Saskatoon 25 years ago.
There's a
And,
story there.
yeah, and Transcom stands for Transportation Coach of Operations and Management.
Okay.
So that is our name, and that is our push. Is we don't replace management. We don't get in front of management in these companies. We get behind them and help them.
Yeah.
We are not consultants.
That's fantastic.
We don't give them a binder and say, here's all the stuff you need to do, collect a check and see you later.
Right.
These companies need a talent that is experienced, that is professional, that knows exactly what has to be done and goes and helps them.
Yeah.
We will write the letters to the government. We will write the freight contracts. We will write the disciplinary memos and everything else for them, just to help them, and to we show them how to do it, so when we're not there, they have the templates, they have the know-how. It's become
Yeah.
part of what they it becomes part of their DNA, and they're on their way.
I really think that's fantastic, man. Like we were talking in the green room, that core demographic, we kind of cater to with this show is those guys that are currently company drivers looking to branch out to their own company, become an owner operator and grow a fleet. And you learn so much knowledge being a company driver. I mean, there's so much there to obtain, but then taking that leap into owning the company, running the company, I
Yeah.
mean, especially in the owner operator seat, you're doing all that while behind the wheel. it's a whole nother ballgame. I mean, there's so much to take in. It's one of those industries that just has so many regulations, especially if you're going international of that sort. Do you guys work with companies of, all age and size? Like, do you help out companies that are just getting started out, or what are kind of the requirements there?
The smallest company we've ever worked with was Cerebral Palsy in Alberta, and they had 3 vans in Calgary and they had 3 vans in Edmonton, and they collected used clothes.
Mm,
And they came to us and said, is there anything you can do to help us? Because we only have vans and we only have 6,
right.
right? But when we looked and did an analysis of where those vans were placed, what kind of kilometers they were running in Calgary and Edmonton, and really what was happening was they were bringing people, employees from the suburbs to the core of Calgary and Edmonton to pick up the van to drive back to the suburbs in traffic and start picking up used clothes. And we said, you know what, why don't you put the van where your employees are, and you cut down your kilometers and you cut down your fuel and you increase your stops and you increase your revenue because you've increased your stops. And
Right.
they were just absolutely delighted that they bumped into Transcom, and we looked at their 6 vans as a fleet,
Yeah.
and that was their primary revenue source, was those 6 vans. So that's the smallest fleet we've worked with. The largest fleet we've worked with is 200 freight terminals. So small doesn't scare us and big doesn't scare us.
Love that. Yeah.
You can get sued with 1 truck or 1,000 trucks.
Yeah.
The courtroom is going to treat you the same.
Sure.
The liability is the same. The penalty systems are the same. The laws and regulations are the same.
Right. Yeah, that's really fascinating to dive into, and I think there's such importance behind that. When you launch your business and you've made that decision to step out and become that company owner, you can kind of shoot yourself in the foot by over planning sometimes. If you're like me, I'm that guy that's always sitting there just trying to get it letter perfect, while everyone else is, almost to the home run. I'm just not getting started yet because I just don't see the vision perfectly. So there's value in getting started, but you don't wanna wait too long that you refine your process and really make sure that you have that foundation set up, right? Because that can bury you really quick. If you
Yes.
get off started in the wrong direction, or, you don't have that insight like you've had, being able to look at this industry and this game in such a different way because you've literally grown up around it, and it makes, the sixth sense to you. Not having that, you go too long like that, and you're either one, let's say you stay alive and well in the game, you're probably losing a ton of money because you're just not as efficient as you could be.
Yes.
But two, I mean, we see in this industry such a high rate of companies that get started and 6 months later they're gone. And I think a huge factor is they didn't have the mentorship, and they didn't have, just somebody watching their back like you're talking about here.
Yes. Well, we see, statistics are like 90% of new starts are failing.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, it isn't about having the finances to gain a tractor.
Right.
That is not, it's a big step, and it's a big move for someone to own a truck. But that is not uh, a load broker on a load board, and a finance tractor is not a trucking company. And that's where I think they missed the boat.
Mm,
Is there's such a the danger, Alex, is not knowing what you don't know.
yeah.
And what they do is, if they get a little bit of a contract and they can add a couple trucks to it, if you do good work in this business, your business grows.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. It's always been that way, always will be that way. If you do good work, more traffic will come to you. So they go from 1 truck to 3, and then they get a bump and they go to 8. And then next year they're they're at 15. And now you are in a driver development, driver management, driver discipline, driver education, driver compliance, full load. You're in
Yeah.
full load, and your office maybe hasn't grown with it. Your administration hasn't grown with it. We see it in the fleets that we work with. Uh, they're missing a lot of structure, and they don't know it, and that produces inefficiencies, but it also produces significant liabilities. There's about 50 jurisdictions in the United States at the current time that will charge a single truck somewhere between $250 and $10,000 for 5 minutes of idle.
Wow. Yeah.
For 5 minutes of idle. And there's all these, the most recent challenge for the industry is for the professional driver being able to read and be able to write in English.
Yeah.
So we keep these layering of things. And if you ask them about occupational health and safety, or you ask them about emergency response, or you ask them about continuous ed, or you ask them about driver files or equipment files, or the list goes on and on and on. And they say, well, we're not that far yet. We're not up to that yet. But
Right.
the government agencies and the enforcement agencies, they're not sitting back saying, well, you only been around for 18 months, so we will be lenient because you're a beginner. They're not saying that. They're saying, if you don't measure up, we are going to penalize you. And if we penalize you too much, if you're going southbound and you get too many tickets as a professional driver or an owner operator, and they label you an undesirable visitor because of your driving record, and that can become an impediment to crossing the 49th parallel.
Mm.
Your driving record can tell them that you represent a risk on their roads.
Yeah. There's so much that plays into that. And it kind of comes back to what we always talk about on the show, just that mentorship factor. And
Yes,
that's one of the things I love that you brought up about your company, that you don't, replace the management, you don't get in front of them, you get behind them. And that
yes,
really is kind of that mentorship level of, hey, we've been there. We know the strategy here. Let us
yes,
help you support, or let's help support you, because that's that one thing. So many of these companies, says 90% of these companies out here end up failing right
yes,
from the get-go because they didn't have that firm foundation. They're trying to build the structure of a company on soft ground, and
yes,
it doesn't last. There's so many pitfalls out there you got to watch out for.
yes. And you don't
Yep.
stay small. If you do good work, you don't stay small.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that they have to concern themselves with is, if they're with a friend who's going to run sleeper team with them and they can dial the revenue up because of it,
Right.
they can maybe do quite well. If they stay within the laws and stay within compliance, and they don't have fault collision, failed inspection, they can probably do okay. But when you start multiplying that, the dynamics of your business change dramatically.
Yeah. Well, you've brought up kind of the financial side there, and it's making me wonder because we get this question asked a lot from guys that are getting into this industry. Like you said, it's usually not the biggest jump to get that first truck. If you've got the
Mm,
drive, you've got the ambition, you're going to find a way to get in this game, get started.
yes.
But then having that ambition to grow and grow appropriately, what insight can you offer for somebody that, is in that owner operator step, but's ready to take on several more trucks and grow this into a fleet? What are some of the, nuggets you can give, financial, et cetera, and just making sure you do it in the right manner?
I would discourage building a truck or trying to build a trucking company using load boards and load brokers.
Mm.
I have never used a load broker or a load board in my life, and my last fleet went to 150 million in 10 years.
Wow.
I would encourage them to use the internet-based loads as a lever to get you to a spot or a lever to get you out of a spot, but go and find your true customer. Bill 100% of the shipping revenue would be my advice. There's a reason we have 2PL, 3PL, 4PL, 5PL. And these are party logistics organizations that are taking 6 points to 8 off the revenue to play pitch and catch with $300 million computer systems.
Yeah.
By the time it hits the load board, the rate can be a shadow of what it started out to. And there's a reason they'll pay you as soon as you get the proof of delivery to them, is because the revenue can be so low. The person or the organizations that's passing the load on to these guys, they're grateful to get it delivered because they're making 8 points off this or more. And the trucker is the operator that has all the liability and all the financing and all the cost, driver cost, and fuel, is dealing with what's ever left over of that original rate.
That's fantastic insight.
So my suggestion would be get in your car and go drive around your neighborhood and find out who is shipping with 1 or 2 trucks, and go knock on their door and say, you know what, your main focus is in trucking. So why are you trucking? Let me take over your 2 trucks. We will do good work. We will staff those trucks. We will learn your customer service. We'll be partner for you for the next 25 years.
Yeah, there's so much that can be done there for sure.
Yeah. Yes, there is.
Now, you've talked about stepping in and, helping these companies get on track, make sure they're through it. In that situation, and it may very much be just everything, but in that situation, do you see more issue on one side or the other, being companies struggling with, financial management or operation management, or is it just all the above?
I don't think revenue has ever been the problem.
Okay.
The trucking industry has advanced since the Second World War.
Mm.
It's never stopped growing since the mid-40s. We've hit slouches over the decades. We've hit downturns over the decades, but they last 1 year, maybe 2.
Right.
And then what we're dealing with right now, between COVID slowing things down, tariffs slowing things down, we are creating our blast that is going to come a year from now, because everything wears out, including people.
Very true.
So the legacy of not fixing your car, not building an addition to your house, not building something because of tariffs and because of COVID and because of all these things, means in a year and a half from now, this stuff will be behind us. And Canada and United States, we will get over this situation.
Yeah.
And we will both be stronger as a result. Canada right now is embarking on trade initiatives around the world to alleviate some of the challenges southbound. And we're going to end up with a legacy of additional work because of that. And because of the slowdown that we've been in for the last few years, that we are not going to stay in for many more years.
Yeah.
We're probably a year and a half away from trucking being just as strong as prior COVID.
I love that foresight. I love it. Now, looking at that, I mean, obviously jumping in this as somebody that, has been working for a company, and then you're taking on all this risk, all this, trying to gauge it as it goes. Kind of, piling in with everything that's going on with the tariffs, with, still dealing with the lasting effect of COVID and who knows what's to come. What would be a piece of advice for somebody launching out into that career as an owner operator today with that vision, to grow into a fleet?
I would encourage them to subscribe to Truck News and Today's Trucking. Get the electronic magazines, read them, the whole magazine, including the ads for the next 10 years. Those two publications and others will teach them a lot of current things that are happening.
Yeah.
Both on regulation and on equipment. And they should even read the ads, because there's stuff in the ads that could help them.
That's what I was going to tap in on. Most people skip over the ads, and I see where you're going with the importance there, but dive in a little bit more. What do you see in the ads that you really think could benefit somebody starting out?
It could be a new APU or new gen set, or a new hybrid motor, or a new drivetrain that's coming from PACCAR or coming from any one of the builders, right? Or maybe from a builder we don't even know yet.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
there's lots to be taught by listening and reading.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would encourage them is to float the boat instead of drive it. Our tire wear, our driveline punishment, our trailer pin. We take a 9,000 kg truck and we smash into a 3 kg trailer pin, and we think that's normal.
Yeah.
That's abuse. So coupling and uncoupling, you want to save money? A nice clean click when you click that pin.
Yeah.
A soft lean on a tug test. Don't shock the drive lane on a tug test. There's lots of things on equipment care. If you want to save money, float the boat instead of drive it. How we go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, and how we go from 100 kilometers an hour to 0, has a big bearing on fuel efficiency.
Yeah. Well, we've talked to a few other people on episodes, around that care, those maintenance factors, but the way you put it there was beautiful. Float the boat, don't drive it. Because I mean, honestly, I think we see so many truckers today, and they just beat the hell out of these machines.
Oh,
And for one, yes, most of these are built really, really well. And I mean, they're tough equipment.
Yeah.
But when you look at, the amount of drive, the amount of, hitching, unhitching, just the sheer magnitude of what we're doing with them, that abuse piles up very, very fast over time versus, any normal vehicle. So yeah, treating it right, I think, goes a long ways.
Yes, it does. You want to save money, take care of your tools.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic insight. Well, man, we've dug through a lot here, and you're one of those guys I could easily probably go on for 3 hours with.
I don't think so.
But to really bring this home, I want to give you a chance here. Anything that you feel like we've missed today that's really important to drive home to somebody?
I think our inherent responsibility to protect everybody else on the road who we don't know and never will.
Yeah. No, that's deep, man. There, so much can happen out there so fast, and it does. It does all the time. And yeah, it's easy to kind of out of sight, out of mind with a lot of that. But that's very, very true. Very, very true.
Thanks for your
Well,
time.
yeah. Before we wrap up, I want to give you a
Yeah.
chance for some shameless plugs, man. Let us know, how can somebody get a hold of you? How can they find out more about your business and get in touch with you guys?
You can check both our company and myself on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Email is Roy at transcomfleetservices.com. And that's probably the best way to get a hold of us is on email, because we're in places where we cannot answer our phone a lot of the time. So
Fantastic. We're going to get those in the notes below. Guys, be sure to check them out and give Roy a shout if you have any questions on what he was talking about. This guy is full of knowledge in the industry. Roy, thank you so much for coming on today and let us kind of tap into that lived and learned knowledge you've gained throughout your years in the industry.
my treat, Alex. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And everybody out there, thank you for watching. Until next time, be sure to like and subscribe, and please be safe out there. Have a great day.